A number of people have asked me of late, just during the days of COVID, what does it look like for those who are poor? What does it look like for people in need? And I think the short answer is it looks tougher, harder than it even did before. You look around the world, you look at people who are displaced, you look at refugees, you look at those who live in poverty or are now in poverty where they weren't before. And in each country that you go, it looks different, but the needs are real, and in a funny way, the needs are known. I was talking to a friend of mine in Uganda, David, a lovely friend of mine, and he was saying, it's complicated. He's an elder in the village, and all work has stopped. They're trying to be very good at not having anyone close together for social distancing, but what it means in his context is that there's no work. Nobody has any jobs, and often the jobs there were things like you would have a moped or a little motorcycle, and you'd use it to help. People would hire you from the market to take the food back home, but you can't do that. You can't have two people on a motorcycle in their laws because of social distancing. And he said it's hard because COVID spreads through movement, right? But also the economy comes alive through movement, through back and forth. And so you cut one and you cut the other. And so at the moment, he said, we're just holding on to see how long can people last before they become desperate. Thankfully, in that part of the world, there's still farming that they can reach for food and stuff that they can try and grow or kill or eat for themselves. But that's just one context there. But then you shift your gaze and you look somewhere else. Lebanon, another beautiful part of this world. But Lebanon, it's very complicated. Not only has COVID been impacting Lebanon, but the refugee situation from the Syrian crisis is still profound. There's 1.5 million refugees there in the 6 million population of Lebanon. And the challenges for that nation is that they still have those other areas they're trying to carry, but their own economy is actually in free fall at this time. They're not getting. There's a problem in their system, and so what it means at this moment is that people's money isn't what it used to be. Food is now 4 or 5 times as much as it used to be, and so you have people who are hungry. They might be living in buildings, but they're still hungry. I was talking with a friend, and she said one of the families she was working with, they've got 6 children, and she was talking to the 3-year-old girl, and she was crying. The little girl was crying because every day those 6 kids share 1 bag of chips. That's it. That's the food that they have. And so you've got dads and others on the street sort of crying out, saying, we need food, we just need to eat. I don't really mind a virus so much. I would prefer a virus than having my kids starve. And so you look at places in the north of Lebanon like Tripoli, and there's huge protests, hunger protests they're called, that have just broken out where people they just need food. And then you look at another country in this beautiful world of ours called Burkina Faso. It's unfortunately titled one of the poorest nations in this world. But it's a precious nation and a beautiful nation. But if you look inside Burkina Faso, what you'll see is that they have COVID there. But they have other complications, one of which is they have fighting. There are rebels who are in the countryside of Burkina Faso. And over the last year or so, almost 1 million, about 800,000 people from Burkina Faso have been forced to flee inside their own country. So they're internally displaced. And so for them, some of them have ended up sleeping on the streets, which is very difficult. And how do you have social distancing? And how do you have clean water and hygiene practices there? But many of those in Burkina Faso have been forced to move into other people's homes. So someone's fleeing, and then we open our doors and say, hey, you can come and stay with us. So for example, another gentleman there in Burkina Faso, this man, there's 2 rooms, and there's 9 people living in those 2 rooms. And then you talk about like, well, can you just have good hygiene practices, washing your hands? There actually isn't in Burkina Faso. There's a water shortage in certain areas. It's controlled, and so they don't even have enough to drink, much less to do these dramatic hygiene practices of washing for extended periods of time. And so you look around the world and you say, what does it look like? What does COVID look like? It has different faces around the world. But I think a thing that you could see that's common across all of those instances or examples is that the needs are very simple and the needs are very similar. They need food and they need water. They need to be able to live. And then down the line, they need to be able to be sustaining themselves, have jobs and livelihoods to carry forward. And so when people say to me, you know, what can I be doing? I can be honest with you and say it is a little complicated in some places, but it's not impossible. There are aid agencies out there who are delivering food. There's organizations, wonderful organizations like Food for the Hungry. There's other big UN agencies like the World Food Program, and they're trying to drive and deliver food into these difficult to reach places. At Crossroads, we're also helping in some of those areas as and where we're able. And actually, we have part of what we have in the COVID fund is not just to help the now, but it's also to help that next step, the then, when they're trying to rebuild their lives again and start their economy and their livelihoods. But I think I just wanted to say, above all, thank you for caring, and thank you for not forgetting them, not forgetting the others. For everyone, these days are complicated. But I think it's precious for all to know that we are neighbors in this village. We are not alone. And we can walk together, hand in hand, step by step, to see these days through.